Good evening, everyone. A very warm welcome to you. This is the first of our welcome sessions for the new incoming batch of 2020. I'm Joydeep Chatterjee. I'm the Vice Dean of the school, the Director of Undergraduate Programs, and the Master of Ceremonies for today. Thank you all so much for joining us. To begin the proceedings, I would like to invite our founding dean, Tom Michael, to come on and say a few words. Over to you, Tom.
Great, thank you, Jaideep, and welcome everyone to our first virtual open house. I'm happy to speak very briefly, because I know time is limited, about some of the things that make the pursuit of architecture, design, and the built environment so fascinating. Actually, it's a lifelong project. Once you get interested in how things work, how things combine, how things connect, and how you can change and transform them, it's very important to understand that that is the basis for the beginning of a long-term commitment. Even the smallest changes we make in the local has significant influences in the local environment over to the global environment. You can think of design as not just a mentality or a process, but also as a type of journey. Each project that you pursue in school and beyond in your future career will be different. Every day will be different. Every project will be different. The learning process will continuously change and evolve too. And it requires a certain set of skills. What used to be called soft skills are actually the core competency skills we find necessary in design, because designers are often placed in a position of leadership. You'll find things such as your ability to detect patterns, the ability to empathize with others and imagine how others see the world, your ability to tell stories and narratives, but also your ability to transform the world is something that comes from the innate qualities and characteristics of pursuing the world in a designerly way. The world obviously is in flux. We're sitting in a situation currently that is quite different than we anticipated a few months ago, and a year from now, the world will be different again as well. It is important to keep in mind that the more changes that are coming ahead require us to think about things with a binding sense of curiosity, to understand through questioning, to interrogate, to investigate, to seek answers, and increasingly to seek knowledge from other areas and draw them into the processes of making and the processes of deciding. I think that one of the things that happens when you're a young child, you start to see the world in a different way. And I often think that designers, they'll paint their rooms too many times, they'll take all their toys apart. There's something probably a bit unusual about people who are attracted to design. And usually by the time they're 10 or 12, they know that they see the world slightly differently. And that is something that continues into your 80s, 90s, depending on your life expectancy. So we also have a very delicate thing that we do in architecture and design schools. We only borrow you for a few years, and your lifetime productivity will be decades long. Mine is, for example. As a consequence, it's really important for us to be able to teach you how to question, how to interrogate the world, how to find your own answers, and how to come up with your own solutions. Because by the time you graduate, your laptop will be obsolete, but your knowledge will never be obsolete. We want you to understand the most important part about designing is to keep asking questions. And this is an important part of the school as well. Particularly in the first year, all of you who are coming into our first year will find a very devoted faculty committed to student success. And we don't talk about teaching as much as we talk about learning. The Vice Dean, myself, and all of the senior faculty, all of the junior faculty, everyone teaches in first year. And we're committed to the success of students. And we've had some great successes in the 2 years the program has run. We have students doing innovative projects, working across different media, and we have them even continuing projects on live sites, developing projects outside of their courses, including everything from working in puppetry, working in site construction, blogs, multimedia, a zine, things that keep spinning and transforming even after the courses are done. The education continues outside of the classroom, and again, it's a holistic lifetime engagement, not a series of credits to be accumulated. It's a really exciting thing, and I've only been studying architecture for 33 years. I feel like I'm a brand new beginner, but I will hand it off now to some of the other experts to explain what happens in the school. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. We are actually indeed very fortunate to have Tom with us, who brings with us, and he was self-effacing and did not mention that he actually brings a whole lot of experience to the school, international school all across, having taught in Australia, in the
Edith, can you ask somebody to mute everybody else whenever
Yes.
anybody wants speaking?
Vidyut, can you please mute everyone else other than the presenters, please? Thank you. So yeah, as I was saying that, Tom has taught all over in Australia, in UK, in New Zealand. In fact, he is on a visiting faculty with universities across Europe, China, and brings with him a wealth of experience. We are indeed fortunate to have him with us. We have a very interesting evening planned for you. The first up is actually you get to meet with some of our faculty members. I'm going to ask Professor Zaimal Pani, who is the coordinator for the Interior Design Program, as well as the Deputy Director of the Center for Social Design at the JSAA, to begin. Mute. You're muted. Vidyut, you need to mute. You're muted, yeah. You need to unmute yourself, please. Vidyut, can you unmute the presenter, please?
Hi, everyone. My apologies for the slight delay. I think we were having technical glitches. First of all, let me begin by welcoming all of you. It's such a pleasure that you're joining us here today and will be here with us for the next few years. On that note, let me tell you a little bit about myself. I'm going to share my screen. So give me a second there.
Yes, we can see your screen.
There we go. So as Joydeep said, I'm Zai Malpani, and I have an undergraduate training in architecture from the TVB School of Habitat Studies. I also have a dual master's done simultaneously from the University of Cincinnati, MArch and MS Art. However, when I introduce myself this way, I always feel that that reduces me to a bit of a statistic, representationally speaking. For example, it doesn't tell you that I've actually had the privilege of working on a variety of projects over the course of my career. I worked on the Chicago International Airport, the MCD Civic Center, which is one of the largest and tallest office complexes in Delhi, the DPS Srinagar. I've done interior projects. It doesn't tell you that I'm currently working on representations of menstrual hygiene with state schools in Delhi. It also doesn't tell you that I have this great love for dialoguing dogs or for taking up drawings which are iconic. For example, this one of the brick house by Mies van der Rohe, and turning it into something else. And this is actually what I bring to bear on the courses that I teach, one of which is Rep Lab 1 and 2, which we'll see each other in the first year, which really talks about how representations work, what happens to them, how their meanings change, how their singular narratives to them. We take up some of the things which are the foundational blocks of architecture, for example, plan sections and elevations, things that you, I'm sure, expect to make yourselves, and sort of work around them. What are the narratives? How do we engage people through them? We don't, of course, limit ourselves to just sheets. We kind of take over all of our spaces and make learning fun. We also then extend this into the second half of RepLab, where we take it into live projects. How do you actually use representations to work ahead on projects? And this is something which for us is very, very important. I think for now, that's all about me. And I do look forward to seeing all of you very, very shortly in classes. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Zai. That was very helpful for us to understand. Can you unshare your screen, please? Next up, we have Professor Alokparna Sengupta, who is an associate professor at the JSAA. Over to you, Alokparna.
Hello, everyone. First of all, welcome to JSAA and welcome to our this meet and greet here. I'll just share my screen. Give me a minute. Is my screen visible?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, so a little bit about myself to start with. I'm Alokparna Sengupta and I have done my architecture from MS University, Baroda. I also have a MA in Urban Vision and Architectural Design from Domus Academy and a PhD in Territorial Design and Governance from Politecnico di Milano. My career highlights have been 8 years of academic experience, inclusive of teaching, tutorship, and research in Italy and India, 4 years of professional practice in India and Italy, and I worked in very prestigious firms like Chibich Workshop and Peya Sachati. I'm also very passionate about street mural art, and I have worked with international artists for wall murals. So what I bring to JSAA, my core research interests on political ecology of urban transport, design of public places and placemaking, and streets for safety and inclusion. Pedagogical methods include intersectional knowledge production. These are two photographs of me working with two international artists. For murals, I have been part of Start India. So this is something extra about me, which would be, which I bring to also in terms of interests into my career here in JSAA. Now, what I like to underline is my understanding of what it is to learn from the context. I always engage the student in thinking about the city and to understand architectural know-how with respect to the context. I teach 3 courses: Pace and Place in first year, Architectural Design Studio in first year, and Audits and Assessments in second year. The Audits and Assessments course looks at road safety and urban design, while the other 2 unpacks and basic understanding of architectural knowledge and place in the first year. In terms of assignment, these are the first year assignments in which students explore memory and place, and they write and draw together. And also this is another example of that. This is also students working in the class in a workshop in Space and Place, where they are various images you can see about it. And then there are other things, for example, working in the architectural design project, which, for example, in which they have looked at various understandings of the materiality in terms of space and what all is going on in a particular site, which they have explored in the last semester, either in the offline mode or in the online mode. They have worked on architectural drawings, they have created renders, and they have also worked on sketches. And that's all from my side. Thank you.
Thank you, Alok. That was very helpful to give us an idea of what you do at the JSAA. Next up, we have Sarovar Zaidi, who is an assistant professor at the JSAA. Sarovar, over to you.
Hello, everybody. I'm Sarovar. Welcome to a new year of JSA. And my name is Sarovar Zaidi. I'm a social anthropologist. And actually, I have studied philosophy at St. Stephen's College and sociology and social anthropology at the Delhi School of Economics, where I did my master's and my MPhil. My PhD research has been based on, is from the University of Utrecht, and I have worked extensively on religion and architecture. So that is what my kind of primary qualifications are. Besides that, I have for 10 years worked in the development sector. I worked in funding agency. I worked in government agencies across the country. And I have chosen to come into art and architecture very consciously as a part of when I started doing my PhD work. Besides that, I've done a few collectives. I've learned pottery. I'm part of puppetry collectives, printmaking, art collectives. I worked as a curator. So I've also got fellowships like the Khoj India Fellowships, Intact Fellowship, the IFA Fellowship. And I have a range of interests in material culture and architecture, which connect me back into this school. And a question that I often get asked in a live session is that you're a social anthropologist, and how does that connect to architecture and art? And I always say, so who do you build for? So who are the buildings made for? And they are made for the social, right? They're made for people. And in fact, I always try and bring into my classes the idea of who are the first people who build for us, who mend for things for us, who keep things together. The first architects in our lives are actually our mothers, and how they, you will always see your mothers design your house constantly and move between different rooms and kitchens, etc., to keep things going, right? So the courses that I actually teach connect to all of this, and I teach theory courses. I teach the course on modern South Asia. I teach society and culture, and I also teach design theories to the second year. The studio courses that I have taught are materials and making and representation and its politics. And quickly, I wanted to kind of bring in the ideas that I work with. I move between theoretical ideas to experiential ideas, right? And that is what an ethnography is. And this is something you will learn of when you join our school, that there is so much that you learn through experiencing things, through making things. And in fact, the materials and making studio that I was part of also running, and a lot of other faculty were part of this, was related essentially to trying to identify materials, trying to be, hands-on, to touch things, to make things, to collect things, and be able to create things with what you have. In fact, we had a lockdown, and there were online classes, and we rethought of our studios as home as a site, home as a tool, and home as a studio. And students were able to make really fantastic things as part of the studio work. And I have not got images and other things, but our JSAA has a fantastic Instagram account, etc. So you can go and see some of those things there. Except it's very important to start thinking about ideas of building, making, and living together. And I think as a social anthropologist, that is the role that I'll land up playing here. I have previously taught in the School of Planning and Architecture and School of Social Design in Delhi, in Ambedkar, and in SPA Delhi. But I really feel that the space that we have created in JSA as a faculty, with the interdisciplinariness that we provide here, is really fantastic. And I really hope that you all will have a fantastic few years with us.
Thank you so much, Sarovar. And now we have our final faculty presenter, Professor Girish Agarwal. Girish, over to you. You need to unmute yourself, Girish. Or Vidyut, you need to unmute Girish.
Oh, I'm unmuted. Let me, yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Girish Agarwal. I'm a professor with the School of Art and Architecture here at Jindal University. I'll start with a quick background on who I am. I completed my BTech from IIT Delhi in 1985, followed by an MS in 87 and a PhD in 92, both of the latter from Purdue University in the US. After a year as a visiting assistant professor at Purdue itself, I moved to California as a staff engineer with a geotechnical specialty firm. And by the time I left California, about 20 years later, I was a principal engineer and chief geotechnical engineer for a major infrastructure engineering firm. In between, I took a few years off from being a practicing engineer and went to law school at UC Berkeley, where I graduated in 2006 with the degree of Juris Doctor. Since then, I've been working in industry and academia, mostly at the intersections of engineering, law, and policy. Most of my industry experience has been on large infrastructure projects. Most of the knowledge which I bring to class, I worked on container terminals at the two of the biggest ports in the world, both Port of Los Angeles and Port of Long Beach. I've worked extensively on the LA metro system right from day one, before the metro was ever running. A whole bunch of bridges and highways in California. My one regret that I never got to work on the Golden Gate Bridge. So what I do at Jindal is I teach a whole range of courses covering aspects of the built environment. Structured systems, materials, construction, workshop practices, project management, and sustainable development. Most of these classes are for first and second year students for both the Bachelor of Architecture stream and the students doing BAs in different concentrations. All my classes at JSAA, of course, informed and influenced by my professional experience and my imagination in a sense. So, for example, in a class that I teach on site planning and management, the kind of assignments the students do are not conventional in that I don't give them tables and charts where they can learn project management and learn volume estimation. One of the big projects that we did was students were given 2D plans for a structure that's going to be built. This is a house in South Delhi. And they converted it into a 3D model that they could do walkthroughs and fly-throughs. And what this does is it's a structural model as well as a layout model. So it gives them a much better handle on how different structural elements work together, right? How things are connected, right? What material quantities are needed, what materials look like when they're finished. This is just 2 images from a whole half-an-hour presentation that the students had prepared. Right? Most of my teaching is actually done for the first year in a joint studio that we teach, which includes building materials, which includes construction, which includes architectural design. 3 or 4 of us teach that together. In terms of a little more background, that before I came to Jindal, before the Joydeep persuaded me to come to Jindal, I used to teach civil engineering at Shivnadi University, where I was also associate director for strategy and planning for the School of Engineering. I'm also quite active in research. Most of my research interests are, to put it diplomatically, eclectic. So I work in a range of areas across multiple disciplines on issues that I think are useful and interesting. So I've authored and co-authored about 50 papers in major journals, mostly on applications of data analysis, road safety, law and policy, earthwork optimization, public infrastructure, impact of invasive species on natural ecosystems, informal transport networks, public health. I can go on and on. That's what I mean by eclectic research interests. Right? My current research focuses on 3 interlinked issues. On one, how roadway design and urban layout influence driver behavior, how the built environment affects temperature in cities, what is called the urban heat island effect, and primarily looking at air quality in urban and peri-urban areas. We are trying to encourage our students to get engaged in faculty research. So as students, usually not in the first year, but in their second years, and now students are coming into their third year, more and more of our students will get engaged. I mean, no one stops a student in the first year from getting engaged, but Joydeep and I don't like it. They don't focus on.
Right. Thank you, Girish. Girish, can I ask you to unshare your screen? Thank you so much. That gives you a bit of an idea of the breadth of faculty that we have, and almost everyone actually has an experience across many, many disciplines. Next up, we have Professor C. Raj Kumar, who is our Vice Chancellor. And Raj, as we fondly call him, needs no introduction to the world of higher education, but it is little known that at one level, Raj was our biggest backer of the school. In fact, it's amazing how much he has been pushing Tom and I to turn this, our school into a globally ranked, globally acclaimed school. And he has always been a huge source of support for all of us in everything that we do. So without much further ado, I hand over the mic to Professor Raj Kumar.
Thank you very much, Jaydeep, and thank you, Thomas, and of course, the wonderful faculty members of the Jindal School of Art and Architecture. In fact, whenever I hear our faculty members of the Jindal School of Art and Architecture, I almost feel like I'm a wasted lawyer. What an extraordinary group of people we have who are driving so much of innovation and a lot of creativity, and as you saw, so much of eclectic, diverse, interdisciplinary work and contributions that they are making. So thank you for being part of the Jindal School of Art and Architecture. For all the students and parents who are here, who have the students who have been admitted to the Jindal School of Art and Architecture, I want to say congratulations to each one of you. It's an extraordinary step that you're going to take from a transition from a school into a university. And the year 2020 has challenged everything that we've always believed. We are obviously in unprecedented times, and I can only appreciate your resilience and your ability to sort of deal with this global pandemic. I mean, you barely finished your 12th standard examination. You have not completed, you've not had a proper break. All the vacations that you had planned have been spoiled. and now you are getting into a university. So it couldn't be worse in many ways. So I want to say that we appreciate what you are going through, and I think it's only fair to say that you will and we will all remember this year. And when you tell stories about this year to your kids and grandkids, you will be able to explain the extraordinary situation that all of us are here and how you were resilient as a part of the 2020 batch of students who completed high school and entered into a university. I also want to say that, one of the remarkable things about, a crisis of this magnitude is that it's the ability of people like all of you and us to come together to, not only address that, but come out even more stronger. And I am confident that we will come out much stronger than when we started off. In fact, as days go by, there is so much of greater degree of optimism. I am not remotely suggesting that Corona will disappear on 15th August and that we will all be able to get a vaccine. But it is going to take time, 6 months or 9 months or a year or more. But surely we will overcome it. As we speak, as you know, over 130 plus companies and corporations and government agencies are working together to find a vaccine and possibly a cure. We have a few very promising, vaccines that are under preparation. So in a way, I want to begin by saying that we will overcome what we are facing today, and you will overcome much sooner than you can imagine. In fact, much earlier, much before you graduate, you will overcome this, and we will all overcome this. The second thing I want to say is that, this is a very important decision that you're taking. You must be wondering about what should be the reasons and, logic for joining Jindal Global University and the Jindal School of Art and Architecture. Why should you consider this school as your preferred institution? And there are so many things. My faculty members did talk about it. Everything about them is good enough a reason for you to join. But I want to share with you a bit of a story and evolution of this university, and then I will open up for questions as well. I will be most happy to take questions. And one of the reasons I was keen to be part of this open house is that, and not only for all of us to talk, but I really want you and your parents, and your brothers and sisters and uncles and aunts and whoever is present out there with you, I would like to take questions from them, and we can have that as well. So I will start by saying that I'm originally from a place called Kanyakumari, and I grew up there, and then I did my early schooling in Chennai, and then college in Chennai, and then I came to Delhi to do my law degree. I did my LLB from the Campus Law Center Faculty of Law, University of Delhi, after which I was a Rhodes Scholar at the University of Oxford, where I did my master's in law. And I'm quite excited about my alma mater is involved in this vaccine project, and I hope they make it. When I was a student in Oxford in the year 1998, I heard a speech by the master of my college, whose name is Lord Butler. Lord Butler used to be the cabinet secretary to the British government. And he said in a speech that, we are the oldest college in the English-speaking world. And my college, the University College Oxford, was founded in the year 1249. And when I was a student there in the year 1999, we were celebrating our 750th anniversary. And whenever he spoke, he would talk about we being the oldest college in the English-speaking world. And then, of course, one of those occasions, I asked him, listen, you keep talking about this. Tell me why you use this phrase. And then he reminded me about what I knew, but I did not quite connect it that way. He said, well, your country had institutions long before. And he reminded me about Nalanda, Takshashila, Vallabhi, and Vikramshila, which were much older than Oxford, and of course, older than Bologna, which is probably 1,000 years old. So such is the historical heritage and civilizational heritage that we had in India or Indian subcontinent with regard to higher education. Clearly, that's kind of stuck with me. And I was also wondering about the fact that Oxford University as an institution was shaping generations of individuals and their lives and had a very powerful impact on the future of higher education. And so I was questioning myself, are there universities like this in India? I went to 2 good Indian universities, and that kind of that question that I asked to myself and where I was led me to my journey. And that's when I got 3 more fellowships that I moved. I went to Harvard, did another master's in law at Harvard Law School. That's where I really began to think more deeply about the idea of building a university. I read a lot about the history of higher education in the United States and around the world. Was also conscious of the history and evolution of Indian higher education post-independence. At the dawn of Indian independence, we had 20 universities, and now we have 1,000 universities. The evolution of Indian higher education was quite compelling and in many ways transformative. And so that led me to, after I graduated from Harvard, I left with this obsession that I want to do something in India. But I wasn't sure how to go about it. That's when I became a lawyer in New York. I got admitted to the bar of the state of New York, practiced law in New York, but I was ready to quit as soon as I could and joined NYU as a visiting fellow. To cut the story short, that's where my academic journey began. I then went to Japan, taught in Japan, then moved to Hong Kong, taught in Hong Kong for many years, traveled around the world, looking at universities, particularly in Singapore, South Korea, Taipei, Japan, Australia, North America, Western Europe, and India. And the more I traveled around the world and came to India, I was deeply disappointed with what we were doing in India. We were mindlessly building more and more universities with little regard to quality, let alone excellence. The expansion of Indian higher education sector, both public and private, did not lead to the creation of world-class institutions. The privatization of Indian higher education starting from the late 80s into early 90s did not lead to the creation of the Harvards and the Yales and the Stanfords and the MITs, which were all private universities. The Indian evolution of private higher education led to largely mediocre, for-profit, even dubious enterprises in the private sector, and many dubious architecture schools as well. So that mediocrity got deeply institutionalized and embedded in the Indian imagination of higher education that it became a full-blown crisis. And that was the time when I was writing a paper entitled Establishing India's First Global University when I was teaching in Hong Kong. The paper led me to a number of thought processes, but the vision was very clear: to build an institution of global excellence in India, which will not only place the highest regard for quality and research, but also to hire the best minds and to bring together people from India and around the world to create a new vision and a new imagination for multidisciplinary education with a strong emphasis on interdisciplinarity, but also non-STEM, non-medicine disciplines. From the very beginning, that was part of the vision. To cut the story short, I got to meet in the year 2006 an Indian billionaire and a steel tycoon and a member of parliament by name Mr. Naveen Jindal. Mr. Jindal, as some of you might be aware, had already fought a very important case to fly the right to fly the national flag for private individuals. As many of you know, till that case happened, private individuals in India could not fly the national flag. It was a violation of law when you end up doing it. He flew the national flag, was indeed stopped from doing it on ordinary days, excepting Independence Day and Republic Day, and went all the way up to the Supreme Court in 10 years in a landmark case by name Union of India versus Naveen Jindal. The Supreme Court of India upheld the right to fly the national flag. He himself had studied in the United States, Texas, and did his master's, and I got to meet and engage with him and persuaded him to do 3 things. 1, to make a substantial financial commitment to build a world-class university. 2nd, to do it in a not-for-profit manner. 3rd, to let me have the academic freedom and autonomy and independence to build a world-class university in India. By late 2007, he agreed to all of that and invited me to move to India from Hong Kong in early 2008. January to April 2008, I was trying to understand India myself as I was returning to India after a decade, and very quickly I realized what an impossible country it is. Nothing works in the sense that everything took a lot more time, lot more difficulty, and a lot of institutional inertia, including huge levels of bureaucracy was deeply embedded in the regulatory framework for creating institutions, not to speak about corruption and other governance challenges. But by April 2008, I quit my job in Hong Kong and began the process of institution building along with my small team of people. We never looked back since then. In between April 2008 and December 2008, we were involved in land acquisition, formulation of curriculum, course structure, program development, faculty recruitment plan, student admissions process, hiring of architects. That was the first thing we did. So you guys are important. What you are going to do will shape the possibilities for the future. We hired an amazing architect named Stéphane Pommier, a French architect. I call him an honorary Indian. He has been living in India for many years now. We began the process of institution building. As late as 27 January 2009, the government of Haryana passed the legislation establishing OP Jindal Global University as the first private university in the state of Haryana. Soon after, we began the process of construction of campus, recruitment of faculty and admission of students. And as promised to Mr. Jindal, on 30th September 2009, we began the first academic session of the first school of the university, Jindal Global Law School, with only 100 students and 20 faculty members in a 54-acre campus, which at that time had only 4 classrooms, housing for 110 plus faculty members, 1 staff room, which hosted me as Vice Chancellor and the 20 faculty members and the 10 administrative staff, which we now call the Big Bang Conference Room. We had nothing else. Such was the modest beginnings when we began this university on 30th September 2009. We never looked back since then. In 2010, we started the Jindal Global Business School. In 2011, the Jindal School of International Affairs. In 2012, the Jindal School of Government and Public Policy. In 2013, the Jindal School of Liberal Arts and Humanities. In 2016, the Jindal School of Journalism and Communication. In 2017, the Jindal School of Art and Architecture. And we announced it and then started the following year. And then in 2018, the Jindal School of Banking and Finance. And of course, we had just now last year, we announced the establishment and starting this year, the 9th school of the university, the Jindal School of Environment and Sustainability. We moved from, say, literally 20 faculty members to 600 faculty members. We moved from 100 students to nearly 7,000 students. We moved from a 50-acre campus to a 100-acre campus, which is now being expanded as we speak to a 300-acre campus. We moved from 100,000 square feet of built-up space to over 2.5 million square feet of built-up space, with the plans for the next decade or so to move 4 times larger into a 8 million square feet of built-up space. Our growth and evolution is pretty much based upon 5 factors. First, we are a global university. For us to be a global university means to have a global curriculum, a global course structure, a global program, a global faculty, a global research agenda, all of which promoting global interaction. It means for us to be able to recruit faculty members from around the world. Nearly 16% of our full-time faculty members are non-Indian nationals recruited from over 32 countries and regions in the world. The rest of the faculty members are people like me and others who spoke today, are people who have studied in India and worked studied abroad, many of them, and have returned to India and have become part of this imagination for higher education. Global also means for us to be able to build substantive partnerships with universities around the world. In the last 11 years, we have built over 250 partnerships with 250 plus universities spread across 55 countries, in which we have implemented 10 forms of collaborations. These include faculty exchange, student exchange, joint teaching, joint research, joint conferences, joint publications, dual degree programs, short-term study abroad programs, inward mobility immersion programs, and joint executive education programs. Our goal is to be able to provide a new vision and an imagination for higher education in India that basically transcends geography, but also that transcends in many ways limited opportunities that were hitherto available. The second aspect of our university is our strong commitment to research. We have 55 research centers and 3 research and capacity building institutes, each of which are advancing the research agenda. The third is our strong commitment to public service in all its forms and manifestations. We strongly believe in the ideas and notions of public service, and many of our faculty members, including the faculty members in the School of Art and Architecture, are involved in that. The fourth is our strong commitment to creating an intellectually vibrant environment through conferences and lectures. And the fifth is what we do towards advancing executive education. The last 11 years has led to some important milestones. We have, of course, been consistently working towards improving the quality of education, but we've got several milestones before the beginning of this academic year. Before August 19, we had already broken into the QS BRICS rankings. We have already broken into the QS Asia rankings. We were declared as the NAC, National Accreditation and Assessment Council, India's only Government of India recognized accrediting agency, and received the highest grade there. But this year has been extraordinary. In the last 11 years, OP Jindal Global University has never been more stronger and has never had more and greater laurels and distinctions and achievements in this academic year alone compared to all previous years. The work that has happened in the last 11 years has culminated in this. As we began this new academic year in August 2019, we were informed about the news of OP Jindal Global University to be declared as an institution of eminence. As some of you know, the Prime Minister of India a few years ago announced a very powerful and compelling scheme and a framework to identify 10 public and 8 private universities in India to help them to propel to become world-class universities. Through a very elaborate process that lasted for over 2.5 years, 10 public and 8 private were identified, and we were announced to be one such institution, and we were declared as an institution of eminence in August 2019. Just when the world and we were about to witness COVID-19 in a big way, on 4th of March, the QS World University Rankings announced their subject rankings, and the first school that we established, at Jindal Global Law School, was ranked as #1 law school in India, overtaking the National Law School of India, University Bangalore, and became one of only 2 Indian law schools to be ranked in the global rankings, 101 in the world, among the top 300 in the world. Just a few weeks later, when COVID had already attacked us and significant damage was being caused, the QS World University Rankings announced the QS 2021 rankings. And quite remarkably, we as a university moved up 100 ranks and became top 700 in the world among the 35,000 universities. We were also ranked as #1 private university in India, one of only 21 Indian universities and one of only 3 private universities in that list. We were also the only non-STEM, non-medicine university and the youngest university in India and around the world to be ranked in the QS World University Rankings. A week later, the QS also announced their World University Rankings as far as the young university rankings, those who are under 50 years of age. And we were one of only 4 Indian universities, and we became top 150 in the world, and of course, only private university from India. And of course, as we move forward, these things have ultimately culminated in what we are trying to do, in which the transition to our current framework of higher education has quite remarkably moved into online and digital education. In this regard, I want to say that the architects have a very big role to play, and that's why some of you are passionately wanting to be part of it. I strongly believe that the future of the world will depend upon how we are able to build a sustainable habitat. The Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations and the framework of sustainability that we're talking about, including issues relating to climate change, as well as other aspects that we are addressing, will be led by architects who are going to shape the future. And that's why architects have a very big role to play. The future of housing, for example, effective habitat, including ability for creating mechanisms for people to have affordable housing all over the world. UN estimates that there is going to be a significant crisis with regard to housing, and new generation architects are going to change the world that we are trying to help the future. We also are expected to redevelop urban infrastructure around the world. In fact, one of the big challenges of today is that to what extent urbanization can be addressed by urban planning, but also passionate architects who are deeply committed to the ideas of urban planning with a vision of sustainability and with a vision of contributing to transformative change. What to speak about the large-scale impact of climate change, including deforestation and other areas in which architects will also play a very important role. The other thing that I think which makes the Jindal School of Art and Architecture quite special is that there is a very strong emphasis on design thinking and design as a framework for creating diversity, inclusivity, as well as equity. All these things are so deeply embedded in the curriculum, pedagogy, as well as the teaching commitment of our faculty members. That makes the Jindal School of Art and Architecture experience quite special. And I would encourage as students of architecture to think about that. The other aspect of what architects are going to be constantly be involved, at least in the Indian context, is that preserving our rich cultural heritage. That's an important area that architects are increasingly going to be involved. There are more and more such projects that calls for architectural intervention. And I believe the students of architecture who are going to be part of Jindal will also be given that opportunity. The faculty members who we have will drive that and will provide leadership. And I'm sure each one of you as students will participate in it. Lastly, I want to say that there is something to be said about studying architecture in a larger interdisciplinary university. If you end up going to a standalone architecture school, you might, of course, learn architecture. You will know how to become an architect. But then if you're a high school student, which you are, you will have so little context to connect to the society at large. The opportunity to be immersed into an interdisciplinary university ecosystem with people like Zaidi discussing anthropology and sociology and political science, and others discussing history and economics and literature within the school, but also to have the opportunity to take cross-listed and cross-registered courses across the other 8 schools of the university, to be part of an institutional ecosystem that promotes interdisciplinarity, is obviously a transformative experience. The same thing holds good for other professionals, including lawyers and others. So in some ways, I would say that studying architecture at Jindal School of Art and Architecture is not only to become a great architect, which you will, but also to become a great architect and beyond, to be able to understand society, to be able to understand the world, to be able to connect your own space in the world that we are going to inhabit, and hopefully to change the world and make it a better place as well. Such is the power of ideas that the Jindal School of Art and Architecture and OP Jindal Global University could provide to you. So congratulations to the joining class of 2020. We are very excited to have you, and we look forward to seeing you sooner than later. I'm going to open this as a part of open house. I know we have these wonderful students waiting to talk to you, and they will. After I finish my open house, I need to go into a colloquium. So I would like to spend half an hour or more with the parents and the students who can directly ask me questions about anything. Before you ask any question, I want to tell you 2 things. First of all, and that is in your mind, so I want to address it right away. The big question that all of you are having is, when do you move to campus? And when are classes going to happen physically on campus? So I will say, I'll answer the question directly. We have made big announcements on both counts. First of all, we have made an announcement that for the existing students of JGU, including JSAA, our new academic year will begin on 17th August, and that will be on an online mode. We have announced that already, and we will implement it. We are, unlike the IITs, or for that matter, Harvard and Yale and Cambridge and other universities around the world, who have announced that the entire semester, or in some cases, the entire year will go online. We have not done that. All we have said is, we will start the new academic year for the existing students on 17th of August in an online mode. We have also made a second announcement, which is more relevant for all of you. We have said that we will start the new academic year for all the newly admitted students into the Jindal School of Art and Architecture and other schools of JGU on 1st September. However, we have consciously not said that whether that mode will be physical or online. The reason we have not said that is, there are very few people in this country who will know what is going to happen in the next few weeks. We are obviously conscious of the safety, security, and health and well-being of all our students and faculty. We are conscious of ensuring that we completely adhere to the rules and regulations as well as directions issued by the government of Haryana, the local authorities in the Sonipat district, the Ministry of Home Affairs, the Ministry of Human Resource Development, the University Grants Commission, and other such bodies, and all of them are expected to provide guidance. So what I can tell you is we will start classes on 1st of September. Whether it is going to be online or not will depend upon factors that are beyond our control. With that, let me open this open house for your questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Raj. May I please request whoever is asking the question to switch on their camera and talk to the Vice Chancellor directly. Vidyut, can you please make sure that whoever wants to unmute their mic and ask a question from the incoming students batch and their parents, that they should be able to do that?
They can, sir, they can.
Good evening. May I speak?
Yes, please.
Absolutely.
So yeah, hi sir.
Vishnu, right?
Yes, sir. So yeah, I have applied for the BA in Built Environment program at Jindal School of Art and Architecture. So my question was, like you mentioned in your speech that, your talk or whatever it was, that at JSAA we have an opportunity to study in a very interdisciplinary university where we get a context that other architecture colleges that cannot give us. So my question is, how integrated is JSAA with the rest of JGU, so that we can get the exposure from, let's say you have a public policy school, you have an sustainability school, these things can be relevant to our subject. So how is the relationship with JSAA and rest of JGU?
Thank you so much, Vishnu, for that question. And I'm very excited that you asked this question. First of all, I'm very happy that you're joining the Built Environment School, Built Environment program in our architecture school. Let me tell you that one of the things that we did, actually architecture school is a bit spoiled in our whole university. The reason I say it's a bit spoiled is that all our physical infrastructure are completely shared and integrated with all schools. And the architecture's faculty tricked me to believe that they need these separated spaces from everybody else, and they need to be existing so autonomously and independently, and they need all these studios and fancy places. So they have ended up getting a fantastic space. Of course, that doesn't mean they are confined to that space only. They are completely part of whatever we have. So it's very unfortunate you can't come to the campus now. But Jaideep, we should get a virtual tour of the campus.
Oh yeah, Raj, if you stay, the students have prepared exactly that for.
Okay, but you can also send it across to them because they may.
Yeah. So we thought we'll show it to everybody today, and
then you show it, but then send it across in an email or something. So anyway, so what I want to say is that, so there are different ways of integration. First of all, physically, we are one campus. And so no school, that's very interesting. No school excepting architecture school has some sort of a separated physical infrastructure. All our classrooms are integrated shared spaces. All our, office spaces, conference rooms, lecture theaters, everything is integrated. But architecture school, architecture faculty, architecture students are phenomenally spoiled that they end up having these beautiful space in addition to all the general spaces which we have. Secondly, from the standpoint of the intellectual integration that you talked about, I'm very happy to share with you something which we did. And not now, we did it literally a decade ago when we started the business school, which is that in addition to the courses that a student can take within a particular school, all the students, this is not a unique architecture school privilege, all students of JGU can actually take cross-listed and cross-registered electives across every school. So if the architecture, so what we've done is, and it's a very difficult thing, by the way, let me tell you, I have studied in 5 universities in the world. Delhi University can never do it. I studied in Delhi University Law Faculty. Within 5 minutes location is the Delhi School of Economics. And within 5 minutes from Delhi School of Economics in the Faculty of Management Sciences. Never before in the history of Delhi University, one professor could go to the other school and teach a course. Never before in the history of Delhi University, a student could go and take another course. It's another matter that I used to hang out in the Delhi School of Economics because they had a better canteen and their samosas were better. But basically, nothing intellectual about it. They all operate so independently. Now, strangely, Harvard University, which talks about interdisciplinarity, geography would not allow. So Harvard Law School is located in one place, Harvard Business School is in another place, and so geography is a limitation for it. And the third is, institutional inertia. For doing interdisciplinary courses, you need deans of faculty members to sit together and determine teaching schedule and make classes available, including classrooms available for doing it. Never, ever it can happen in Oxford and Harvard. So technically, a student of one faculty in these institutions can do an interdisciplinary course, but practically it rarely happens because it will usually come in conflict with what you already do. So we at Jindal have done something remarkable, which is every day after 4 to 5 p.m. or so, because it's a residential university, we have a host of 100+ courses that are open for all students to be able to take across the different schools, and they can have cross-listed elective experiences. And something even bigger. All over the world, the fee is paid through credits. So every credit has a fee attached. At Jindal, we don't do it. You pay your tuition fee and you can take all courses across all schools, across all programs, so long as you have the discipline and the determination and the dedication to actually do the course successfully. There are no additional payments, no separate charges to do any number of credits, any number of courses across different schools. Third is that each of our schools have their own conferences, lectures, workshops, seminars, programs. They're all announced as a general portal. The students of architecture are as much in a position to attend these programs as, again, there's no fee or anything like anybody else. Fourth, the international programs that we offer, including, for example, our student, short-term study abroad program on various themes that we host at Harvard, at Oxford, at Fletcher, at different parts of the world, they're all open to all. So, for example, we run a course on, journalism and multimedia and communication at Berkeley. Architecture students are eligible to attend. We run a course at Harvard on human rights and development. Architecture students are ready to attend, can attend. Of course, both Thomas and Jaideep have architecture-related courses directly also, and are in the process of launching some around the world. And that, of course, you are eligible to attend. So the integration is substantive and significant when it comes to the opportunities that are available for JSAA students in other schools. I hope that answers your question, Vishnu.
Yes, sir. Permission to follow up, though?
Great. Yes, Vishnu, if you have another question, please go ahead.
Yeah, so I get how how it's interdisciplinary and all, but the thing is, when the classes are online, after 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock, how can I go and attend a class at School of Journalism? How does that work?
So Vishnu, honestly, first of all, the interdisciplinarity kicks in only in the second year and not in the first year. First year, honestly, you are expected to do your core courses and get a strong grounding in your own discipline and in your own architecture school itself. One. And secondly, I sincerely hope that you don't believe that we are going to be in this state of Corona forever. There is going to be an end in sight and very soon. So I personally don't think that we need to think about online being for a very long time, if at all. So I want you to recognize that this is an exceptional situation. And by the way, as far as electives are concerned, there is no change. So if you are a second year student and you have your core courses happening, so when we are doing online, it's the same thing. In fact, There is no geographical limitation anyways. There's no classroom requirement, everything. So your schedule will be such a way that if you have taken a course in another school, which I'm afraid it's not for first year students, because quite rightly so, we need you to get a grounding in your own school, in your own degree, in your own program. But online doesn't change anything when it comes to interdisciplinarity.
Thank you so much.
Thank you
Raj.
for those questions. They are all
Thank
useful
you.
for others as well. Let's get more questions.
Yes, please. You know, Raj, one thing if I may add, while it's common for everybody at JGU, this is a unique opportunity for architecture students, because that is not possible anywhere in India, if I may add that.
Very true, very true, very true.
Yes.
Well, not even in the School of Planning and Architecture.
Exactly, exactly. This is a unique situation in India, where you can take courses all across. So yes, JGU is commonplace, but for architecture...
Also, Jaideep, it's okay for a master's student not to be concerned about other disciplines. But
Yeah.
if you're a high school student and
Yeah.
you end up studying only architecture, you're not going to be a good architect because you don't understand
Absolutely.
the context and society.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. Please, questions. Please remember, no questions are wrong questions. We are here to answer everything.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Right?
Are you putting some questions in the chat box or something?
I'm just going to check that actually. That's what I...
Please.
No.
Okay, we'll wait.
Professor Rajkumar Anshuman Tiwari here. My son, if you can hear me well.
Yes, I can hear you very well. Yes, Tiwari. Yes.
My son has, your professors have been kind enough to admit him in the first year architecture course. My question is a little bit concerned parent kind of a question. Maybe most parents would have about the logistics of the date. We are based in Bangalore. The university is in Sonipat. Obviously, everybody has this question back of their mind that we don't know what we don't know, right? So this Corona thing, whenever it ends, it ends. But I did notice that you mentioned two dates, 17th August and 1st September. There is one, the logistics challenge of online classes for subject which is very, I would say, experiential, and you need to learn this more with hands. But we are where we are. So that is one question. And the other is that, basically, I think they both are related. So what is the view? Do we start on 1st of September online and struggle? And of course, for architecture students, many parents are eagerly waiting for the NATA exam and admissions thereafter to other institutes and so on. This is the institute of choice for us, but there could be a whole lot of things if you start on 1st of September and suddenly students want to withdraw or new students want to come in. So these two.
Okay. So, Mr. Tiwari, let me be very transparent with you, and that is how we have always functioned as an institution. So, first of all, 17th August is not relevant for you at all. So, you should focus on 1st September. That's the day when we are planning to start the academic session for the new students. Two things. One, as a university, we are fully prepared if we were to start a physical campus experience, both in terms of having students. We've always had a good health center, but we've upgraded the health center. We've bought so much of equipment, including equipment which none of us should ever be in a position to use, which is ventilators and things like that. So we are pretty much, from a safety, well-being, and health standpoint, we are prepared to deal with including isolation wards and all of that stuff. But let me be very candid with you. As things stand the way it is in India, and in fact, you are in Bangalore, so it's a very good case study. I mean, if you remember just a few months ago, Bangalore was supposed to be the poster boy for, how Corona was dealt with perfectly and everything was fine. And suddenly they were opening up. And then today it's like the poster boy for the right opposite. So what I want to say is that nobody is confident about the nature of this disease and the potential consequences of it, first. Second is, it is not the case, unless you are in probably Sikkim or New Zealand, that the corona impact is almost zero, meaning that you can actually have a normal institutional experience of any kind now. Almost every part of India, wherever any good institution is going to be and is in the same situation vis-a-vis what it is. Third is that, so given these factors, which is while it's quite natural for you as a parent to be concerned about, like everybody else, we need to now think in terms of how do we ensure that a year is not lost, learning is not lost, some sort of a stability and coherence is undertaken. So what the Jindal School of Art and Architecture is doing as we speak is, and they will be launching a program known as the Prestige Program, which is basically a training and engagement program which we do for all schools somewhere into the weeks of August. The idea is to connect with the students even before the semester starts so that you get an introduction to what is expected. We will have to wait and watch and see what is happening. So from a logistics standpoint, you will have to stay put. You cannot do anything. You cannot book your tickets. You cannot pack up your bags now. You will have to wait and watch and see how the government is going to make whatever announcements. That is as far as the plans for 1st September is concerned. But what the architecture school is doing is fully conscious of the fact that the school expects a fair amount of physical and experiential learning as a condition for actually having a meaningful education. It is restructuring the curriculum as we speak, including the courses that are expected to be taught in different aspects of the cycle. And I am very confident and on one thing, as much as our friend before Vishwas said was looking at a long-term online education model, I am very confident that we expect and the world expects this, us to overcome out of it in the worst case scenario in say 18 months, more like in 12 months. And so during this time, in the event of a physical classroom experience becoming difficult, then we need to restructure the curriculum and make it more creative and innovative within the context of an online educational structure. Of course, I'm also very conscious of the fact that we need to think in terms of how we can bring in some degree of, maybe even learnings from augmented reality and artificial intelligence, and to what extent design thinking can be brought into educational ecosystem at a digital level. All those things are something we will consider. But I entirely agree with you, Mr. Tiwari, that none of this, at least in the School of Architecture, can substitute what we all would like to have, which is a physical learning experience. That's the best I could do, Mr. Tiwari.
No, I think it is more a reassurance than a response, because that's what a parent needs. So thank you.
What is this is your son or daughter or?
Son.
What's his name?
Tanmay.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Well, best wishes to Tanmay. Yeah.
Professor Chatterjee and Professor Michael, interviewed him and have been kind to offer him a seat. So, we're glad.
What do you do, Mr. Tiwari?
I work for a technology firm, like most people in Bangalore, but not into technology. I'm more a process improvement.
Are you an engineer by training?
Yes, industrial engineer by training, and
that's good.
And
I'm happy that you are, helping your son fulfill his own dreams and aspirations, because in a country where, and I know you are part of the country very well. I am also from that part of the country where everybody is aspiring to become a doctor or an engineer. The fact that you are supporting his aspiration, Tanmay's aspiration to become an architect, is quite admirable, because We are all part of a 3 idiots generation where most of the time young people are living somebody else's dreams.
Oh, no. Maybe like most parents, this generation doesn't have a choice, whatever children want. So
Good for you.
As long as we can fund it, and they pretty much know how much we can fund it as well. So yes, they are smarter than we are. And he is in this session and must be making a good note of all this. So, thank you, sir.
Great. Pleasure meeting you, Mr. Tiwari.
Same here.
Thank you for your question, Mr. Tiwari. More questions, please.
Also, can I just add one thing here?
Please, sir.
Mr. Tiwari, it was actually a very interesting point that you mentioned about, we have a school and a discipline which is about hands-on learning. And we actually went through partly the last semester where we did do a kind of teaching from online, and we had a lot of good experiences. We had a lot of learning experiences, and we have worked on the curriculum in a way that it is able to work, that students are able to work from home, and it I was part of a studio with Professor Alok Parna and Professor Kriti, and it was a lot more work for faculty and for students, but it was also you could talk to us later about the kind of things that we were able to do, especially in a course like ours. And the house becomes a tool. You all kind of do become a part of it. Students learn to connect to the house more and try to find things and do things from the materials that are available in the house. Also, there's a student here. She's might present some of her work later. We had to make models, architectural models, and there's no material available in the house per se. The conventional material of that is used, and students used really creatively and look at what they found in the house, from food items, working with atta to make gold, to make like sticking substances. So there was a lot of a completely new form of creativity also emerged because they had to work with what they had. And I think I wanted to mention this to you because one should not be completely not hopeful in this situation. There's a lot that students you will be surprised how much students will continue to surprise you in how they work from home also.
Thank you very much. I'm quite hopeful, but I'm not too sure his mother will be looking forward to him using the house as the first place. but we are where we are. So thank you, Professor.
Thank you so much, Sarovar. That was a helpful addition. Questions?
I think Adya Sharma had a question.
Adya, are you there, Adya? Adya, did you have a question? You can unmute yourself. Let me try it now. No.
Yes, I think she can speak.
Yeah, my mother had a question. So actually,
all right, please, Mrs. Sharma.
In India, mothers and fathers have more questions than children. We need to get them over. Yeah.
I think Mr. Tiwari already asked the question, and I'm glad that you have answered.
Okay. All right.
Thank you, Mrs. Sharma. Thank you. In case your mic is on, you can also type in the questions in the chat box. There's a chat box in the lower half of the screen. If you just click on it, it'll open it up, and you can just type out the question, then I can read it out.
Yeah, but they can ask as well.
Yeah, you can ask as well, in case if you're finding some problem asking them.
So, Professor Chatterjee, this is me again, more because, I think others are probably contemplating what to ask. I had a second question, which is more about, NATA is now on 29th of August or some, first week of September or something. So that kind of puts a little bit of a spanner in your plans, in terms of having a batch fully ready. So, any views on that, or we will see what we'll see?
I'll quickly answer to one thing. Mr. Tiwari, one of the things, so we are very, as an institution, we are fully conscious of what you're saying. So one of the reasons why we want to start the classes is that we don't want people to lose, any more of the academic journey they're in. So there will be, as you rightly said, the students like your son who are joining will be in a position to take those pre-semester classes and the semester classes too. But then if we end up doing online, which we don't know, then those ones who will join or who have missed will also be provided enough support as well. So in some ways, we have carved out a framework in which no student misses anything that might have happened before he or she joined. The NATA bit is a regulatory aspect, which we respect and we will follow and adhere to those regulatory issues. But from our standpoint, we want to keep it as flexible as we can from the standpoint of the interest of the students are concerned.
Sure.
Yeah,
Thanks.
absolutely. Absolutely, Mr. Tiwari. What Raj said, the way we are spacing out our course is keeping all of this in mind. We, the Dean, Vice Chancellor, and myself, we've had many discussions on this and decided that we can space out the course, like he mentioned earlier, also jig our classrooms and our classes, our courses in a way in which students don't miss out on anything. That's the way we are planning this. Those who will join us later, we've created provisions so that they can catch up on things very quickly. We can have some special hours for them. All of those things are actually already worked into the schedule as we speak.
Sure, thank you.
Thank you. All right, if we have no more questions, I would like to actually then move on to...
Excuse me, can I ask one last question?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Give it a few more minutes. People are thinking, people are thinking about it. So.
Please.
So again, JSAA is unique in another aspect that it's one of the only design colleges that offers a minor in non-design fields, whatever it is, anthropology, economics, whatever. So suppose I choose my minor in a field like economics or anthropology. It's usually in design colleges and architecture colleges, we have jury. So how will my minor then be evaluated? Is it how I will how I'll incorporate it in my jury work, or will there be an examination for it?
Vishnu, this question is above my pay grade, so you should answer this.
Can I try and take that?
Yeah, please.
All right. Vishnu, thank you. That's a wonderful question. Actually, yeah. So good you brought up the minor. Actually, that's one of the other very, very unique things about the JSAA. So you have to imagine the minor as a kind of minor area of concentration that you're doing in something, right? And if you're going to do something in economics, then the idea will be that you get used to the kind of testing and assessment that happens in economics, right? And not bring to economics the kind of testings that you have in, let's say, a design discipline. Incidentally, we've stopped calling it a jury. We call it an end of semester review now. Jury was a term we let the law school folks use nowadays, right? We stay with end of semester because it always seems so frightening to say, okay, you're under judge, jury, and the designers, and you're going to die and all of that, right? So we keep it as an end of semester review. The idea is very simple. You also have classes in the architecture schools which don't have those kind of, we have different modes of assessment, right? As you will realize when you come into the JSAA, we actually don't have examinations for anything. Everything is continuous assessment, right? And end of semester reviews and things like that. Most of it is actually that flexible even for the other schools at JGU, right? So they have multiple forms of assessment and which dovetail quite neatly into your coursework.
All right, let's wait for other questions.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I had a question which is sort of a follow-up to what Mr. Tiwari just asked.
Who's this?
This is Anish Aditya. I've applied for the...
Okay. All right. Got you. Anish, I can see you now. Okay.
All right. Sorry, sir. So the question is a follow-up to what Mr. Tiwari asked. So as you may be aware, the JEE paper 2 is scheduled to happen on the 1st of September, which also clashes with the announcement for your course. So I just wanted to know whether you've thought of, so I mean, I really want to skip either the first session or JEE. I want to know your input, whether you've thought about this.
I think Jaideep, you can answer the question regarding.
Anish, sorry, go ahead. Anish, I'm sorry, your voice broke up at the end. Could you repeat your question? I couldn't hear it very clearly. Anish, are you there? Anish, can you hear me? You need to unmute yourself. The last part of your question broke up completely. I couldn't hear it.
All right, I'm sorry, sir. I'll just repeat myself. So JEE paper 2 is also scheduled to happen on the 1st of September, right? Right, and so is the date of commencement for your course. So I just wanted to know whether you thought, because I mean, I personally won't want to skip either my exam or the first day of course. So I just wanted to know whether the university has thought about students who might not be there on the first day.
Yeah. So Anish, the first week when you come, you will always realize is actually just an orientation. So when we say first it starts, it doesn't mean the class starts exactly on that date usually, right? What it means is that that's the first day is a kind of an orientation. You get to know what's going to happen throughout the year. You know, we lay out certain things for you. In fact, you know, as Raj mentioned, all throughout August, you'll be, you know, interacting with some of our existing students. They have planned something called Meet a Faculty. You will be meeting the faculty individually, getting some time with them. So believe you me, you will already be a lot prepped by that time. So if the first day is something you're like, I've got to go and give an exam, that's not a problem at all, right? So all of those are managed. Don't worry, absolutely.
All right, thanks, sir.
Thank you, and good on you for being so conscientious from day one that you don't want to miss a single. That's wonderful. Thank you so much, Anish.
Thank you.
Thank you, Anish. Okay, very good. I think our students are also very eager and anxious to make their presentation. So I'm going to take off because I have another thing to attend. I'm going to miss our student presentation, but I want to say it's a pleasure for me personally to be part of this absolutely fantastic welcome. It's wonderful to meet parents and students, and I look forward to welcoming you to our campus. Stay safe and healthy during the time that you are wherever. But we will remain in close contact, and as soon as we hear about the plans, we will communicate to you. All right?
Thank you so much, Raj. Always a pleasure to have you.
Thank you, Thomas and Jaideep and all other faculty members for your presence. Thanks. Take care.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So thank you all so much. As I was going to say, our students have something prepared for all of you, something very special. In fact, the little bit of a background story is, it's not that we actually asked them to. They approached us and said, since we have the new students coming in, we'd like to do something for them. And Professor Kriti, who has been working with them in sort of incessantly over the last 4 or 5 days, I believe. And I will hand it over to Kriti to take it ahead.
Thank you, Joydeep. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to JSAA. I'm going to skip my introduction and quickly jump to the student work because we are running out of time. So we really wanted to welcome you on campus, and I'm really missing the campus, which is a little weird because I only got to spend 7 weeks there. But your seniors were feeling really bad about not welcoming you. So they have actually prepared to take the campus to you. They're going to bring the place to you. And 4 members of JSAA's YouTube group have put together a walkthrough of JSAA's campus. So I would now like to invite Varnika and Saksham, who are now second-year students, and Shaurya and Ujjwal, who are now third-year students, to take this forward. So Shaurya, over to you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. All right, so guys, I'm Shaurya. I'm proceeding towards the third year of architecture right now. And me and the YouTube team decided to have a campus tour for all of you since you can't visit the campus due to unforeseen circumstances. So let's take right into it.
Hey,
Hello guys.
Hey,
What's
what's
up?
up? So now we will take you through our campus and let you explore our campus life.
Welcome to JSA, also known as Area 51, because of how secure our campus is. This is a multiverse where we make, design, think, unwind, and work together all at once. Oh, and that's Saksham and Muskan playing with an EDM machine in the middle of the day. As we move forward, we can see my favorite place on campus, the Foundation Studio. That is Muskan and Tavishi with their desks outside. As the name suggests, this place is inhabited by the first years. We get to choose our own desks and customize its location and setting according to our own needs. Saksham and I chose to keep it right in front of the window so that we can talk to the people outside and still get a lot of sunlight in.
Well, Varnika, I like to peep out of the window.
As you can see, the walls are writable, and even during the weekends, you'll find us sitting here and watching movies, goofing around, dancing, while still working on our deadlines and making a million drafts at once.
This is where we go artistic. Oh, everyone, say hi to Archie, our JSA pet.
Moving forward, you'll see the studios 1, A, B, and C. This is inhabited by the second years.
Oh, wait, Varnika. Well, that's my table in the left corner. This is our space. Let us handle it.
Talking about studios, we don't use it just to grind hard while making 3D models. We use it to celebrate birthdays too. And if you're coming here, you definitely gotta get cake.
Oh, I remember this video was taken one day before the submission, and it was really nice making this model through using layers. Like, we learned about building service like plumbing, electricity, HVAC, and fire.
The interconnected studios 1A, B, and C offer an interactive space between the three spaces. Trust me, you really want to take your mind off from writing a huge 2,000-word essay and work on a 3D model. Help your buddy out for a while, yeah?
Next up, we have the classrooms. This place witnesses all our potential ideas, debates, rough drafts, and infinite conversations which are a part of our learning process. We have a couple of pictures from the workshops that we have in here, and we also scribble on the wall all day.
So let me introduce you guys to my workspace, which is Digital Lab, where all the magic happens. This place consists of high-end PCs on which I use to work on softwares and renders, which is lovely.
Is that all we do here, Ujjwal? Let's keep our gaming a secret.
So this is the design studio 2A and B. So the senior most batch will occupy this space. So Ujjwal and Shaurya, I hear you giggling. Oh, our best friend, the vending machine. I miss Orange Lace Man. And this is where all the adventure happens. My favorite place, the fabrication lab.
I was so afraid of cutting off my fingers during this workshop. in here, Professor Kilje and I were debating about ethnographies and the politics of representation.
Do you see the coffee machine there? We have so many secret stories to tell you about it when you come to our campus. Oh, that's me with the table saw. I tried my best to learn this and I gave 50 shots only to a single piece to cut, and now I can do it in a single shot. Oh, that's Vernica and Muskan using the miter saw. It was really hard to be friends with all the professional heavy machinery in there, but I used to try daily to be a good friend with them. We realize that these instruments are dangerous and should be handled precautionally, but still we do some fun stuff while taking all the precautions. The studio runs from 6 a.m. in the morning to 1 a.m. at night. After the dawn, it's again well lit for us to relax and work again.
I honestly am a night person. I like working in the studio much more at night than in the morning. Whenever I feel sleepy, I just put on my skates and go for a whole orbit in the corridor. The same corridor space is used for organizing events and festivals like Holi, Diwali, and Halloween. That's me lying on the ground. Thanks for sitting on me, Ujjwal.
Our school is the only school in the Jindal Global University that has its own personal campus, and we feel really privileged about it, and that enhances our learning experience.
We've all become so attached to this place that it has transformed into our second home now. And most importantly, we would love to share this place with y'all and hope to see you soon.
Welcome to JSAA,
guys. See you soon.
Thank you so much, guys.
All right.
That was a lot of fun.
Thank you, YouTube group. We now have 4 students who would like to share their experience of being at JSAA with their juniors. So now I would like to invite Namrata, who's now a second-year student, to share her experience with us, please.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we are.
Okay, so hi, my name is Namrata. I am in the Bachelor's of Architecture program, currently entering my second year. And for those of you who have applied to the BArch program, know about data and JEE mains and how there's a PCM mandate. And so I had that as well when I was writing. So I was under the impression that, to be an architect, I must be good at PCM. And I was terrible at physics in high school. I don't think I understood any of it. So coming to college, when we were introduced to the structural systems course, I was definitely a bit worried because I was almost certain that that would be my weakest subject and I would enjoy it the least given my history of physics and everything. But I want to tell you about this one instance from the structural systems class where we were asked to make a bench from concrete and brick from scratch. So, my group and I, we had dug the foundation, laid the mortar, placed the bricks, everything was ready. We had cast the concrete and, that was also ready. And we were in our last, I think 2 days before submission where we had to take the concrete out of the mold and place it on the brick structure. And, plot twist, as we were placing it, it broke and crumbled into hundreds, I don't know how many pieces. And as heartbreaking as that moment was, I think that I learned so much from that because I almost instantly knew what had gone wrong. And then we had a discussion following that, I really understood what forces were acting, what we could have done better. And that is something that I hadn't learned in all of the physics textbooks that I had read up until that point. And now I know I don't have time to talk about all of these instances that have happened in over several courses, but I really do like the way that all of these things are taught to us, whether it's structures, whether it's about spaces and societies. And I have seen how you being able to explore these different mediums, whether it's writing papers and essays or making a short film to making graphic narratives. I've seen how that not only has it equipped me with a lot of skill sets, but I've seen how I've changed and I'm able to look at all of these things with different lenses. And I don't even just mean with the work that I do in terms of my relationships with people, in terms of almost everyday things around me. I've started to notice all of those things differently, and like kind of understand what it really means to learn something, and how it's not just, you know, taking out a textbook, memorizing information and writing a test, which is something we don't do here. And the way that our assignments, our course load, everything is organized. Even during this COVID break, actually, like we were given a project to analyze our own kitchens, and I had never looked at my kitchen that way, you know, like the apart from just like the making plans and elevations and everything of it, just studying the ethnography, studying the movements in the kitchen. I think that is something that is so unique to the kind of education I'd experienced up until this point. So if you guys are the type who like really like to explore different mediums, different subjects, kind of you don't really like that monotony of doing the same thing over and over. And also if you really are ready to kind of, you know, embrace whatever comes at you, accept and understand that, you know, you're going to be learning constantly. There's no, the learning really never ends. I really do think you guys will have a great time here. And I'm excited for my next, to see what the next 4 years have in store for me. And I'm very excited to welcome all of you, and so that you can also be a part of this incredible experience. Thank you.
Thank you, Namrata. I would now like to invite Manish again from second year. Manish.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome and thank you to the new students and parents coming to the welcome session of 2020 batch. I'm Manish Kumar Kansam, and I'm a student of 2019 batch of the BA Built Environment program, and I'm currently going to the second year. It has been quite an experiential journey for me in this course in JSA for the past 1 year of this course. So let me begin with how I chose to come here from an anecdotal perspective. Making or assembling things has always been something of a great interest to me, although I wasn't that good at it. Then I realized that I was keen on making things from the day I helped my dad back at home make a bookshelf when I was 10 years old. Back at home, we had many tools that helped us craft or fix stuffs. We had bend saws or circular saws or any other tool that helps us fix or make. And always working or making or fixing things like a small door knob or something as big as an entire furniture. For me personally, the reason I chose to come to JSA while searching through the net for courses in design and making, I stumbled upon JSA's BA Built Environment program. At first, I wasn't sure about it, but I saw the flexibility they offered and provided in terms of majors and minors, and the opportunity to explore something new in the field of design and making. And mostly the working with our hands to build or craft something drove me more here. After coming to JSA, I realized that there was so much more to making an object than I had imagined, whether it was through the readings introduced to us or workshops and class discussions that lead to these learnings. I learned how to make or break things, explore multiple narratives that an object has, and how to get intimate with objects or the objects that I'm working with. Every time when we don't get our things right, when we're working with an object, our Professor Jadib would say his famous catchphrase, get intimate with the object. This is something I kept hearing from him every time I work on objects, and it doesn't go right. So like thinking about it, it turns out that it really does helps us understanding object. As we get close to our objects, we saw the tiny details and flaws in it, which cause the object not only to work, but function properly. Also, our professors are quite approachable and interactive. One of our Professor Jadid, told us to call them by their names and call him Morpheus from the Matrix, because quite literally he looks like an X like him. But I wasn't used to calling the teachers or professor by their first names or anything else. So I just called them sir or ma'am anyway. So I will now we would constantly try to execute theoretical learnings practically and apply it to the process of design and making. in one of our assignments where we had to disassemble the objects that we were assigned to and individually learn how each part works and where it fits into the objects. The objects that we were assigned to was a Shisham beveled box, and we had to replicate it from the scratch, quite literally. We were even made to go out to buy necessary parts to make the objects with restricted budget. We were left in a carpentry shop street in Sonipat, where we had to negotiate with the shopkeepers and walk around till we found a better price rate for the items necessary for our objects. This was a good experience for us. So it showed us how actually a builder should know the prices and how the market works in order to make something. We were divided in a group of 2 people and had to work with our partner. Although I knew, so when we started working on our boxes, we had nails, we had hammers, we had circular saws, all those tools to work with. While hammering, I left kind of left out on making like for an year, so I wasn't that good at it. So while hammering, I messed up a lot, and so, but then we have the faculties was there to help us how to properly operate the tool, so we didn't take long enough to figure out how the tools work. Our lab assistant and faculty showed us the right way to handle tools in case of holding a hammer, showing us the right type of grips and positions. So all this learning and teaching is very profound, and it's quite interactive, and it helped us like get in touch with our objects, and it is more of a hands-on work like JSAA is about. So it's a fascinating process, and since I enjoy this process of making, as we saw through the walkthrough of video of JSAA, the fabrication lab is one of the place where I love to spend my time and work with all the tools available. So I would like to conclude by saying, for me, who personally like to make things, JSAA has provided me with a platform to push forward on this path, and also learning through readings introduced to us and the research study trips that we go to live those experiences help me to understand better. Overall, from the last year, I'm quite different in terms of the way I look and react to things, and the way I see and feel are more analytical now. Although I have a long way to go to become proficient, it's still a good start. So I'm looking forward to see you guys in person on campus and happy to have you here. Thank you.
Thank you, Manish. Next, we have Edha. Edha, may I please request you to keep it brief?
Yeah, absolutely. Hi guys, I'm Edha. So I'm going to keep it brief. How are you doing anyways? So I remember last year while on a research trip to Mumbai with Alokparna and Sarovar, as everybody else was trying to find taxis from Muhammad Ali Road, Alokparna declared that she was going to walk till Kolaba, and we were welcome to join. So I volunteered, and the 1.5-hour walk was filled with revelations. I was clicking pictures, observing as tarpaulin found itself to be such an important part of the texture of the city. You know, it was being used for roofs, for jhopris, as a tool to store, to cover, to spread, to sit on. And I constantly was remembering the various discussions we had on materiality and design. I was looking at the changing landscapes of the city, from slums to factories to the fancy streets of Kolaba. You know, the streets and the footpaths we were walking on were the same place, were homes for some people. So we saw the boundary between public and private dispersing, and this again reminded me of whatever we'd learned back in the first semester. And I witnessed how close to her heart Alokparna carried the ideas and concepts she was teaching us, exploring the true essence of city through walking being one of them, the street and the politics of it, pointing to street art as she expressed her interest in street culture and graffiti. We had amazing chats about rap culture in the movie Gully Boy. So ended the day with a pizza. So
Sorry.
yeah, like we're always taught to, yeah.
I'm gonna jump in. We are really running out of time.
Cool. All right. Hope to
So
see you soon, guys. Bye bye.
next we have finally the last person and my name buddy Kirti, who's from the first batch of JSAA. Kirti, please keep it brief. You're muted.
Yeah. So I recently got to know that we have to close up soon, so I'll keep it really short. First of all, hi everyone, and a very warm welcome to the upcoming batch of 2020. So I would like to start by saying that I had my own set of apprehensions when I was joining Jindal, how it would feel like to be the first batch of Jindal, how will I fit in the definition of architecture, what it demands, being practical and creative, but there is so much more to it than just what we're conditioned to believe. And over the course of 2 years, that is something I have learned and experienced every day. I remember walking into the interview and talking to Professor Joydeep about the books I read, how I am as a person, how I think, and so much more about myself that I explored through that conversation itself. And the same has played out for me throughout the journey. I remember my parents calling me up continuously right after I had joined, if I was liking it, if I had something that I had to share. But all I remember is stretching the conversation to how passionately I felt about things that I was learning, the subjects that I was exploring. Till date, when we sit in car or while I'm at home, I'm having discussions about the things I'm learning, how I analyze my home, how what I see on the street, I walk different, I talk different. All these courses have eventually helped me shape as a person, where I'm not only becoming a good and conscious human being, but also an architecture student. And I'm really grateful for all of these experiences throughout, from mapping the roads to a 1-week trip to Gurley, where Professor Michael and Professor Ishita Jain were with us, and we interacted and experience the life there with the community and not just observe it and then propose our ideas. So all in all, I'm just looking forward to seeing you all and witness you all go through this. And we have something really exciting planned for all of you. That is Project Amigex. And you really need to check up on your mails because we'll be contacting you soon. So hoping to see you soon virtually and later, of course, in person. Take care.
Okay, thank you, Kirti. My apologies to everyone that we have to rush through this. The students actually wanted to engage with you more. But please do check out our Facebook page and Instagram because they keep sharing their experiences and their work there as well. And do check your mail because the project Amigex will be interacting with you over the course of next few weeks before the classes start. You will also get to meet the faculty members and engage with them. So with that, welcome to JSAA and we look forward to meeting you.
Thank you, Kriti. Thank you, all of you. Thank you, all the students. Wonderful. And to the incoming students, thank you so much for being here. I'm just going to hand the mic back to Tom and ask him to just say a few words in the closing remark. Over to you, Tom.
Yeah, all right. It's an exciting time of the year, obviously, and it's a very challenging time in the decade. But moving ahead, like I said, once you get involved in designing, it's very, very hard to walk away from it. So we've got a lot of exciting things planned, online, live, and in between as well. I want to thank everyone for participating in this. It came together magically quite well at the end. And for all of my faculty colleagues, I think they've just scratched the surface of what they're capable of teaching and explaining and researching. There's a bunch of faculty that we haven't had a chance to hear from, but we will give you more opportunities to engage with them because there's something to learn from everyone here. And I learn a lot from the faculty as well. I also want to mention that the teaching is actually much more expansive than just faculty. There's student-to-student teaching, peer mentoring, you'll see. But also I want to specifically mention some of the people that hold things together that often are juggling 5, 6, 7 different projects at once. Zanil and Deepak you will interact with constantly in the labs and in the environment of the facilities. And also once you get settled in the program, you'll be going to Monica, our school manager, quite a bit to get advice too. So the school is actually quite comprehensive, and I think there's a generous spirit of goodwill. Kriti has brought some of the students' opinions forward. There's a lot more students with a lot more opinions. You'll also discover too. So I just want to thank everyone for giving was actually too small of a bite-sized synopsis of what is an incredible lifetime project. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you all. All right, with that, we're just going to close the event. Thank you all so much. We will be in touch with all of you. Welcome once again. Lovely to have you here. Bye-bye.